What happens when a group of criminals targets NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, assuming it's just an easy opportunity? Little do they know, his loyal companion is no ordinary dog. He's a retired K-9 hero with a legacy of bringing down the most dangerous criminals. What unfolds next is a breathtaking tale of loyalty, courage, and justice that will keep you on the edge of your seat. It was a quiet evening in the heart of Los Angeles, where Shaquille O'Neal, the larger-than-life NBA legend turned entrepreneur and philanthropist, decided to take a rare moment of solitude. Standing at an imposing 7 feet 1 inch, Shaq's presence was hard to miss, even in casual attire, his signature smile and easygoing demeanor making him a beloved figure everywhere he went. But this wasn't a typical evening stroll. Beside him trotted Zeus, his loyal German shepherd, who carried an aura that was impossible to ignore. Zeus wasn't just any dog. With a glossy coat that shimmered under the soft glow of the streetlights and eyes sharp enough to pierce the darkness, Zeus was a retired K-9 officer. Before becoming Shaq's trusted companion, Zeus had been a legend in his own right, a hero of the K-9 unit who had taken part in countless high-stakes operations. From sniffing out narcotics in sprawling warehouses to tracking fugitives across rugged terrains, Zeus's past was nothing short of extraordinary. Despite his retirement, Zeus's instincts remained razor-sharp. His upright ears scanned for the faintest sound, and his nose was attuned to scents that most humans would never notice. To Shaq, Zeus wasn't just a protector, he was family. The bond they shared went beyond companionship, it was a partnership built on mutual trust and respect. As the duo strolled through the park, a cool breeze rustled the leaves, and the distant hum of city life filled the air. Shaq, ever the gentle giant, chuckled as Zeus playfully nudged his massive hand, silently demanding a treat. For a man who had spent years dominating the basketball court and later thriving in boardrooms, these simple moments with Zeus felt priceless. But this wasn't just another peaceful evening. Unbeknownst to Shaq, shadows lurked nearby. A group of men, concealed in the darkness, had been observing him. To them, he was an easy target, a celebrity whose wealth made him a tempting prize. What they didn't know was that they weren't just up against a retired athlete, they were about to face one of the most formidable K-9 heroes ever to serve. Little did they realize, Zeus's calm demeanor was merely the quiet before the storm. The night was about to take a dramatic turn, and what followed would become a tale of courage and loyalty that no one would soon forget. The air grew heavier as Shaq and Zeus made their way through the park. The distant city sounds faded into a muted hum, replaced by the soft crunch of leaves under Shaq's size 22 sneakers and the steady rhythm of Zeus's paws. To Shaq, it was just another peaceful night walk. To Zeus, it was something else entirely. The retired K-9's ears perked up, swiveling like radar dishes. His sharp eyes scanned the shadows between the trees, his nose twitching as he caught an unfamiliar scent. Zeus's tail stiffened, and he let out a low, guttural growl. "Easy, big guy," Shaq said with a chuckle, reaching down to scratch behind Zeus's ears. But the dog wasn't playing. His growl deepened, his body tense and coiled like a spring. It wasn't long before Shaq noticed the subtle signs. The hair on the back of Zeus's neck was standing up, and his gaze was locked on a patch of darkness ahead. Shaq followed his dog's line of sight and saw faint movement, a shadow where there shouldn't have been one. "Look what we got here," one of them said, his voice dripping with mockery. "Big Shaq. Out here all alone." Well, almost alone. His eyes flicked to Zeus, who was now standing protectively in front of Shaq, his teeth bared in a silent warning. The tallest of the group smirked and stepped closer, holding his hands out as if to show he meant no harm. "Relax, man. We just want to talk," he said, though the menace in his tone betrayed his words. Shaq crossed his arms, his towering frame casting a long shadow. "You got something to say, say it. Otherwise, you might want to keep walking." His voice was calm but firm, a tone he'd perfected both on and off the court. The third man, smaller but wiry, sneered. Oh, we'll walk. Right after you hand over that watch, and whatever else you're carrying. Shaq glanced at Zeus, whose growl had turned into a steady, ominous rumble. You sure you want to do this? Shaq asked, his voice low. The men laughed, mistaking Shaq's calm demeanor for fear. What, the big dog gonna save you? The leader mocked. Shaq didn't flinch, but Zeus took a deliberate step forward, his posture screaming readiness. The criminals weren't backing down, but neither was Shaq or Zeus. The tension in the air was palpable, like the crackle before a lightning strike. What the men didn't realize was that they were about to push the wrong button. And when Zeus moved, it wouldn't just be a reaction, it would be the response of a trained protector, a force they were far from prepared to handle. The tension snapped like a taut wire as the leader of the group reached into his jacket, pulling out a gleaming knife. He waved it menacingly, taking a step closer to Shaq. That was all Zeus needed. With a burst of speed, Zeus launched himself forward, his powerful muscles propelling him like a missile. His target wasn't random, it was the leader's hand holding the weapon. Years of K-9 training had honed his instincts to perfection. Zeus's jaws clamped down on the wrist with calculated precision, applying enough pressure to disarm but not permanently injure. The knife clattered to the ground as the man let out a cry of pain. Before the others could react, Zeus spun on his paws, eyes locking onto the next threat. The wiry man reached for his pocket, likely going for another weapon, but Zeus was already in motion. With a low growl, he lunged, his weight colliding with the man's knees. The impact sent him sprawling to the ground, the item in his pocket, a small taser, sliding uselessly out of reach. Zeus, stay! Shaq commanded, his deep voice cutting through the chaos. Despite the escalating danger, Shaq remained calm, his faith in his companion unshaken. Zeus obeyed, planting himself firmly between Shaq and the remaining criminal. His sharp eyes tracked the third man, who was now hesitating, clearly reconsidering his choices. Zeus's growl rumbled low, a warning that needed no translation. The leader, clutching his injured wrist, tried to recover, but Zeus turned his attention back to him in a flash. With a sharp bark, Zeus advanced, forcing the man to stumble backward and trip over the curb. He landed hard, groaning in defeat. Shaq, never one to escalate unnecessarily, stepped forward and loomed over the remaining man, who had frozen in place. You see what happens when you mess with us, he said, his tone firm but calm. The man held up his hands in surrender, fear written all over his face. With the situation neutralized, Zeus returned to Shaq's side, his tail wagging slightly as if to say, all clear now, boss. Shaq gave Zeus an affectionate pat. Good boy, he said with a grin. The criminals limped away, humbled and defeated, while Zeus and Shaq continued their walk, the night's peace restored by one heroic dog. The wail of approaching sirens broke through the quiet night as the police arrived, their flashing lights casting long shadows against the sidewalk. Within moments, 2 squad cars pulled up, and officers spilled out, weapons drawn, surveying the scene. Shaq, standing tall and composed, waved them down. It's under control, he said, motioning toward the group of battered criminals slumped on the ground. Zeus stood at his side, his stance relaxed but alert, his keen eyes still trained on the subdued men. The officers approached cautiously, handcuffing the would-be attackers one by one. Looks like someone did our job for us, one of the officers remarked with a chuckle, nodding toward Shaq and Zeus. Another officer, a middle-aged man with sharp features, froze mid-step as his gaze landed on the dog. His expression shifted from curiosity to recognition. Wait a second, he murmured, stepping closer. Is that Zeus? Zeus from the K-9 unit? Shaq smiled, giving Zeus a gentle scratch behind the ears. That's right. Retired, but clearly not out of practice. The officer's face lit up. I knew it. Zeus was one of the best we ever had. Took down more suspects than I can count. Saved a couple of lives, too. This dog's a legend." The other officers gathered around, nodding and sharing their own stories about Zeus. One recalled hearing about the time Zeus had sniffed out a hidden stash of narcotics during a high-stakes raid. Another mentioned how Zeus had once located a missing child in a dense forest, guiding rescuers straight to the terrified boy. As they reminisced, Zeus seemed to bask in the attention, his tail wagging slowly as if he understood the praise being heaped upon him. Shaq watched the interaction with a mixture of pride and gratitude. He knew Zeus was special, but seeing the respect and admiration from the officers reminded him of just how extraordinary his companion truly was. "You've got a remarkable partner there," the first officer said, clapping Shaq on the shoulder. Shaq nodded. "I know. He's saved me more times than I can count, tonight included." With the criminals securely in custody, the officers prepared to leave. One of them looked back at Zeus and gave a small salute. "Thanks for the assist, buddy." As the squad cars disappeared into the distance, Shaq and Zeus were left standing under the glow of a street lamp. The adrenaline of the night had faded, leaving a sense of calm in its wake. Shaq crouched down beside Zeus, looking into the dog's intelligent, loyal eyes. "You know, they're right," he said softly. "You really are a legend. I don't know what I'd do without you." Zeus leaned into Shaq, his warmth a reassuring presence. Shaq straightened up, taking one last look at the now empty street. The night had been chaotic, but it was a stark reminder of the bond he shared with Zeus, a bond forged in loyalty, trust, and countless shared experiences. Together, they walked into the night, ready for whatever challenges life might throw their way next. As the quiet of the night enveloped them once again, Shaq paused under the soft glow of a street lamp. He knelt beside Zeus, his large hand resting gently on the dog's head. Zeus gazed up at him, his intelligent brown eyes reflecting a mixture of loyalty and understanding. "Zeus," Shaq began, his deep voice trembling slightly, "you're more than just a dog to me. You're my protector, my partner, and my family. What you did tonight, that was incredible. But honestly, I'm not surprised. You've always had that in you, this bravery, this heart." Zeus leaned into him, his warmth radiating comfort. Shaq's voice softened as he continued. "You've already given so much. Back in the K-9 unit, you risked your life for people who didn't even know your name. And now, even in retirement, you're still out here saving lives, making a difference. You're a hero, Zeus. My hero." He took a deep breath, the weight of the night sinking in. "You know, not everyone sees it. People think of dogs as just pets sometimes. But you're proof of how much more they can be, how much love, loyalty, and courage they bring into our lives. You've taught me so much about what it means to care for someone, to trust them with your whole heart." Shaq's voice grew firmer, more resolute. "And I want people to know that. I want them to see how special dogs like you are, how special all dogs are. There are so many retired service dogs out there, just like you, waiting for a home, waiting for someone to love them as much as they've loved us." He reached out, scratching behind Zeus's ears as his gaze turned thoughtful. "If people could see what I see in you, Zeus, they'd know. They'd understand how much these dogs have given, how much they deserve." Standing up, Shaq looked into the distance, his voice carrying a heartfelt plea. "So if you're listening, do something. Adopt a retired service dog. Volunteer at a shelter. Donate to organizations that care for these amazing animals. And if you have a dog at home, hug them a little tighter tonight. They give us their everything. The least we can do is give it back." Zeus wagged his tail, as if agreeing with every word. Together, they walked off into the night, a man and his dog, bonded by a love that needed no words. Hit that subscribe button to join the pack. Stay tuned for more stories of courage, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between humans and their heroic companions. Let's spread the love for our four-legged heroes together.